Hi, my name's Sarah LaCallie. Been through some shit, just like everyone else. I'd like to tell you part of the story. So, I was doing drugs, a whole bunch of meth, and really makes me think at a different level. But I needed some, and I ended up going in someone's car, and I got stuck in Fort Pierce. The guy left me and he stole my whole bag of clothes, and I was like, what the hell? And he left me at this guy named Rico's house, and I could not get a ride back. Like, I begged people for days and days and days. Why could I not get a ride back? I know so many people that drive. Why wouldn't my family give me a ride back? I ended up being there for 5 days, and it just totally makes sense now. He lived right in the ghetto in Fort Pierce on Avenue I. Remember that. So I'm from Palm Beach, where it's normal and fun. And, I've lived in the ghetto before. I lived in Riviera Beach. It's fucking ghetto. It's ghetto, okay? You really got to watch your back. But Fort Pierce, like, something's wrong with people there. Like, it's evil. It's evil. I kept getting fucked over in like the most disgusting ways, and I'm like, there has to be a fucking curse on this place. There has to be a curse. And I did a little researching, and I was reading about the Seminole Wars. There was an Indian named Osceola who led most of the 3 Seminole Wars. In 1835, I think, they passed the Indian Removal Act. America was already America. Florida was already Florida. The Indian Removal Act? What the fuck? So the government tried to move them to infertile lands so the Indians would just die off. You know, after they took us in and gave us fucking turkey and shit. The Indians, Osceola was like, fuck this. We ain't doing this. I'm not letting my people die. This was our country. And, we invited you in. And he stood up. He stood up against this huge mothership of a government. This mothership. And the Indians were slaying ass. But what happened was they kept fighting. They kept fighting. They kept fighting. They kept fighting. It must have been fucking scary. But the president had the whole militia. Like, he would just use one sector of the militia, like the army, and it wasn't working. The Indians were still winning in Florida. And, and there are 5 generals in the army, or 5 generals in the whole militia in the U.S. And the president used number 1 to get rid of the Indians. Didn't work. Number 2 didn't work. The 3rd general still didn't work. The 4th didn't work. And finally he got the 5th general, and he got the whole militia to surround Florida in ships, and they manned the rivers, like the Navy, the Marines, the Army, the Coast Guard. They surrounded Florida in ships, and what they did was they basically pushed the Seminole Indians into Lake Okeechobee. And the last battle I found on Google, there's this battlefield on the northwest side of Lake Okeechobee, and it said 111 U.S. soldiers died, 111, on Christmas Day. The word Christmas means victim. Now what happened is they finally, at the last second, were up to their waist or whatever in mire, M-Y-R-E. Mire is mud, because the Kissimmee River just flows into Lake Okeechobee, and it just floods the half bottom of the state. And so they were, at the very last second, like, they were slaying ass the whole time, but the very last second, what happened was they knew they were going to die. And they told basically the women and children, I'm sure there was some men there, to run. Run. And burn it down. And they said, we got this. We got this. And so the women ran, and the easiest place to go was Fort Pierce. I think that's Okeechobee Highway. It goes from the northeast side of Lake Okeechobee, and I think there's a train that runs parallel to the highway, and they probably hopped the train in the middle of the night and ran to Fort Pierce. Now, what they did in Fort Pierce is there was a fort. There was a fort, and it's not there now, and no one really knows where it is, but it ain't there. And I kept thinking, maybe the fort's out there on the island on the water. And someone's like, no, that's a man-made island. I'm like, where was the fort? And I got sent to Rock Road Jail, and I realized where the fort was. It was right where the jail is. And when the women ran to Fort Pierce, they burned that fort the fuck down. Fuck yeah. So, they were all slaughtered and all across Fort Pierce and buried. And I'm sure it was fucking incredibly scary. But the next year, this was in 1837. The Indians lost the war in 1837. The next year, in 1838, President Pierce was in command. And President Pierce got his brother, Robert Pierce, to go to this town, and he named it after himself and the fort that was burned down, hence Fort Pierce. Pierce, stab, oh my gosh. Well, there were Indian burial sites all over, and the town wasn't made yet. So what Robert Pierce needed to do was build the roads to make the town. So what he did was he dug up all the Indian burial graves, and he used the shell, the bone, the stone. He just grinded it all up and paved the roads with it. So when you drive in Fort Pierce, you're literally driving on Indian bones. Now, after all that, that's a fucking slap in the face. And then he named the roads like Ulrich, and I don't know about this, but White City. He named the roads after the generals and colonels in the militia. And that's just really fucked up in itself. That's kick me when I'm down, So these Indians are crying in their graves. And I found a curse on Wikipedia by Osceola, who led most of the Seminole Indian Wars. Oh my God, I keep ripping my pants on this. And the curse is on the white man. And it says he will burn. It says he will burn, and he will be black. His skin will be blackened, and then it'll rain, and the smoke will come up, and it'll singe his skin or something. Well, Fort Pierce seemed a little strange to me. I'm like, there's that fucking curse. I knew it. And I had to go back to Avenue I one day to help a friend, and Rico, the guy that let me stayed there, I saw him, but this time I pulled to the end of Avenue I, and I looked down, and there's these woods, but rolling hills of sand, and it just looked, Florida's flat. It looked like a big mountain. I'm like, Rico, what is down there? And he said, I heard it's an Indian burial site. And I was like, wow. And after finding all this out, I went into that Indian burial site, okay? And I was talking about this a lot, and my phone was being hacked, and I didn't know, but, I did know, I thought I was crazy at first on meth. Everyone's like, you're following me when you're on meth, but it just seemed like a lot of white and black trucks and SUVs were around me, following me up and down my road, making U-turns constantly. And then one of them turned their lights on and basically showed me that the cops were following me. Task force was following me. And, because I found out, like, about this Fort Pierce shit, I thought that's why they were following me. But, one day I went to Avenue I in the early morning, and, I didn't have shoes on. I was a fucking wreck, okay? I was not healthy. I was like, I have to go in that burial site. It's not marked or anything. I looked on Google for the Indian burial sites, and it doesn't say it. Like, it's not where the Indians are. Maybe a couple of them, but no. So I went in there and I started digging. They call me the bone digger. I started digging, and I was finding like old fossils, and there were like sandbags like laying out flat, and with mounds. You could tell it was like a grave at one point, but there weren't like bones in it. I mean, like maybe old fossils. But yeah. Then I see this red truck, start driving through the middle of the burial site. And it's like not a place you would drive, And it's like he drove right through the center of it. And it's like steep. It's a mound. It's a big hill. And I'm like, stop. I'm like, help me. And then he stopped. And then he kept going. And I was like, stop, help me. And at this point, I thought it was undercover. And I was like, your sergeant is no match for God. He stopped. And then he kept going. And then he stopped and kept going like he couldn't make up his mind. And then he just opened the door, got out of the truck, left the truck running, and just ran away. And I was like, oh my fucking God. So I'm like, God, show me where the right place to dig is. So I went to this place, and then I seen this tent in there. Like someone was living down there. And I just started digging, and then real shallow, there was a huge cross. The cross part was attached from the long part, but it was huge. I mean, huge. And I'm sure this is what the whites put the Indians on, And I tried to get it on my back. I tried, and it was just too heavy. It was too fucking heavy. And I didn't find any bones at this point, but I was trying to get up the fucking mound with this cross on my back. Like, I felt like fucking Jesus Christ, bro. And I couldn't do it. I was too weak, I was drugged out. And then I look up towards the sun, and I was like, Jesus, help me. And then I look down, and I see bones. And it looked like a kid's arm, like with the hand cut off. Like it was this part of the arm, still connected in a V shape. And I dropped the cross, I picked it up, and I looked towards the sun, and I broke the V. And I don't know why I did that. I broke the bones. Like, what the fuck? And then I was like, Jesus, help me. And I had been watching tarot at this point, and, judge if you want. The tarot led me here, and a whole bunch of them, like, fucking had to be more than 10 tarot readings that said, for Taurus, when the dogs start barking, run. And then I was like, Jesus, help me. And I picked up the bones, I picked up the cross, I put it on my fucking back, and that's when I heard a fucking bunch of dogs just barking. And I've never, heard things that weren't there. Dude, it was dogs. And I was like, what the fuck? I picked up the cross, I put it on my back, I fucking got the strength, I had the bones to run up the mound. I flipped over 2 fences, and then Rico's house was right there, and I banged on the door. Rico, let me in! He opened the door, I threw the cross in, and had the bones. And that's the first part of the story. Thanks for listening.